And one of South Korea's largest labor unions, the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, has called on its members to strike until President Yoon Suk-yeol resigns. In a post on social media, the KCTU described Yoon's short-lived declaration of martial law as a crime of insurrection, while calling on its more than 1 million members to gather in Seoul and other regional locations to oppose the move. Meanwhile, South Korea's finance ministry said on Wednesday it is ready to deploy unlimited liquidity into financial markets if needed. The announcement came after Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok and Bank of Korea Governor Ri Chang-yong held emergency meetings overnight. The country's financial regulator is ready to deploy 10 trillion, that's over $7 billion in a stock market stabilization fund anytime. South Korea's won losses early on Wednesday, coming off the two-year low of 1,443.40 hit overnight after Yoon lifted his shock martial law declaration. Well, the United States has welcomed the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's decision to lift the martial law, expressed concern over the unfolding situation in the East Asian country. The U.S. emphasized its unwavering commitment to the Republic of Korea as a vital ally in the Indo-Pacific.
We will continue to follow developments on the ground very closely. We want this to be resolved peacefully in accordance with the rule of law, and certainly the legislature voting to pass something would be consistent with the law of that country, certainly.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Seoul has put out an advisory asking Americans to avoid areas where protests are taking place. Also, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba on Wednesday said that Tokyo was monitoring the situation in South Korea with exceptional and serious concerns. Speaking to reporters at his office, the Japanese Prime Minister said the government was taking all possible measures to ensure the safety of Japanese nationals, including issuing warnings through consular emails. And for more, Shubhendu Ghosh joins us on this. Well, Shubhendu, after imposing martial law yesterday, South Korean President Yeol has announced the removal of emergency martial law today morning. Take us through the series of events and what led to this announcement in the first place.
That's right, Lupakshi. Last 12 hours have seen dramatic developments as far as the institutions of democratic institutions of South Korea are concerned. At about 10:30 local time last night, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law that's equivalent to declaring an emergency in the country, which means suspension of all civil rights and the rule by military. Now, as the hours progressed, one realized that perhaps it was not as much of a security situation as much it was a political consideration that led Yoon Suk-yeol to declare the martial law. The hours since then, we also saw people hitting the streets while they were asked to stay at home. The lawmakers in particular, 190 of them out of 300, managed to reach the parliament, the assembly of the National Assembly of South Korea. A unanimous vote took place, all 190 voting against the martial law and voting towards lifting of it, which also compelled early this morning local time again Yoon Suk-yeol to lift the martial law. We also see that Yoon Suk-yeol has been losing his political capital consistently in the past months and years. In April, in fact, this year, when his party lost the parliamentary election, 2/3 of the parliament is now governed by the opposition members, the result of which is also the kind of political logjam that we've been witnessing in South Korea. Most of his bills, including the budget, are meeting a hard wall as far as the opposition is concerned. They have impeached a number of his cabinet colleagues, and therefore it was difficult for him as a leader of the government to operate. But this was an extreme step to declare a martial law, especially the reasons that he gave, saying that North Korean agents appear to have penetrated the government. They're sympathizers in the opposition of the communist regime in the north. All of those ideas did not gel well with the people, as we saw how the masses in Seoul and elsewhere in South Korea hit the streets protesting against the president. In fact, those protests continue, even though President Yoon has lifted the martial law. Now the calls are getting louder for accountability, for having thrown the country into the risk of a martial law again. Remember, military rule may be surprising but not new for North Korea. Till about 1987, when the democratic phase of South Korea started, South Korea has in fact experienced brutal military rules in the past. So those memories must also be fresh in the minds of people who all hit the street when the news of martial law came in. Lepakshi.
All right. Also, after all this political drama, Shubhendu, the big question is what next, as opposition calls for President Yoon Suk-yeol's resignation, and the senior aides working for Yeol have also all offered to resign.
That's right, Lepakshi. The experts say that Yoon Suk-yeol, in his desperation to be able to control the opposition and the government, may have made the biggest blunder of his political life, not just costing him perhaps in the days ahead his presidency, but also the power, the influence that his party, the People's Party, exercises in South Korea. The calls for him to step down are getting louder. The opposition has in fact given out a clear warning that if he doesn't step down in the next day or two, impeachment process would begin against him. We know that his chief of staff and other immediate colleagues have also tendered their resignation. So he's losing ground, losing support. He'd already lost support outside of the government, but within his own party, he's losing ground. Many of them weren't aware of the drastic step of martial law that President Yoon Suk-yeol was about to take. So in that sense, he has lost the confidence. His approval ratings have been low historically, about 19%. Till recently. So in that sense, as far as people's support is concerned, opposition's confidence is concerned, his own party's support is concerned, Yoon Suk-yeol appears to be losing it all.
All right. Thank you so much, Shubhendu, for all that update.